Dean, how you doing?
It's good to see you again, Dean.
Hi, guys. Sit down.
10 o'clock hour,
Hey,
top of the hour, Saturday, June 21st.
Waiting for Jesse.
And I started the broadcast by saying that this is the 24/7 news cycle kicking into high gear. This is going to be one of those things that we'll be monitoring and figuring out what's next. What will happen? Will there be a...
So Donald Trump is going to address the nation right now. And when he addresses the nation, we're going to cut live. So my brother Jesse should be here any second now. And we're going to be talking about Tucker Carlson posterizes Ted Cruz. And what does that mean for all of us? Hey, John Marciano. Hey, Shaq. Hi, guys. How you doing? Jose Padilla's on, but you know what? Jesse, any second now.
We'll hear from the president here any minute from now.
Yeah.
No, this is going to...
So the news just came out that they dropped 3 bombs on Iran. So we'll see what happens with gas prices tomorrow. And there's a shipping container tanker that is sunk off the right off of Iran. So, wow.
Now, did they say? Are you able to cut? Are you able to cut if Trump goes on?
Oh well, I have it right there.
He's posting on Truth Social.
Okay, he's doing it right now. Yeah, and then let me see if I can pull up an image file. I wanted to talk about this. That was the title of the show. Tucker Carlson posterizes Ted Cruz, and this is very important for us as Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, you know, the news of the day is changing, but 2 men had a very good discussion. Oh my God, and they got into a fight, but it's not the end of the world, and we're going to talk about that. So let's even go back to share screen. There it is.
Precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They've been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think nobody had happy faces. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. I don't know if this is true. Trump bombed areas that the Russians were at. Wow. I thought our country would strike this weekend to let the stock market relax by Monday. Let's see what happens. I need to check the price of silver. The price of silver is down. And but then again, tomorrow is when we'll see it in the Shanghai exchange. But there you go for that comment. This was Friday night's close, 36, and it dropped below 3,400. So we'll see. If you're going to buy gas, I guess I better go fill up my gas tank tonight. And then the worst part that I've been, you know what the worst part of this news, Jesse, and it, I don't want to be afraid, but the Justice Department was talking about domestic sleeper cells
Being activated.
So here's the sharing the screen. So that came out before the bombing, but so this is why, to all of our Democrat friends, this is why the illegal immigration subject is so important. While we were over here saying, well, they're honest, hardworking Mexicans that are working, and we're Mexicans. We all know, man, that there was a lot of military-aged men coming across the border without their women, and now they're here. And this is why they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And this is why it goes back to the topic, Tucker Carlson, POSTERIZES, Ted Cruz. This is why men fight. This is why men argue. And a lot of people, Jesse, especially I've noticed this with the Jehovah's Witnesses, all of their lives, Jehovah's Witnesses, and they become ex. No one's ever challenged. There's no fighting. There's no debate. There's no back and forth. And so then now you leave the Jehovah's Witness religion, and a lot of people are like, I don't want to hear debates. I don't want to hear fighting. But now we're in a situation where, because we all just got along, because we just ignored the rule of law, well, they're here. They're among us. The enemy is inside. And so Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz, last week, they were fighting, right, in that interview. But this is what men do. And it's very important, in my opinion, to be careful, when you ex Jehovah's Witnesses, you fall for that trap. I just want everybody to get along. I don't want to hear anybody fight. No, it's dangerous. At the end of the day, Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson are not enemies. But they're talking, Tucker Carlson was talking about dead human beings by the millions in Ukraine. Ted Cruz, you funded it, and you didn't even apologize for their death. So that's the whole point, is that if men do not fight, evil will advance and keep advancing. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today. I want to welcome everybody here: Nadine, Shaq, John. John's always here. Ricky, Bobby. I don't know.
Hey, Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to something Trump said, and very important, and I think it was key.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't lay this before a judicial committee in the United Nations, for example, but he said for decades they've been chanting "Death to America."
Mm-hmm.
Words have consequences. Words have the words we say have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
The ex-Jehovah's Witnesses too. There's no Jesus. There's no Moses. Those have consequences. It took maybe 5 decades, all our lives. The 1979 Iranian Revolution. When was the last time we invaded Iran? I think, if my memory serves me right, I think the last time we did as a nation was under the Jimmy Carter administration. Remember when he flew in the helicopters into Iran to try to save the hostages?
Mm-hmm.
And they aborted the mission because of the helicopters. I think that was 1979. And since then, the Iranians have been shouting like children, like petulant children, "Death to America, death to America." And it's interesting that Trump brought that up. They've been fomenting hate for all of our lifetime. We were babies when the 1979 Iranian hostage revolution took place. You were 8 years old. I
remember that. I was in 3rd grade. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so now Trump, for better or for worse, I don't know anything. We're going to know as the days go by. Mm-hmm. We're a lot of armchairs quarterback, and we're commenting on it. But we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But we do know one thing. He did put an ass whooping on this Death to America stuff. And there's a lot of little Iranians running around in the United States chanting that America sucks. And it's got to stop. Words have meanings. Words have consequences. And what we're seeing today, Ronald Reagan maybe didn't do nothing. George H.W. Bush didn't do nothing. Bill Clinton didn't do nothing. Barack Obama and Joe Biden, George W. Bush in Iran. Iran has been pushing everybody's buttons for the last 50 years. And today, this happened. So it's a big lesson for us all to learn. We have big mouths, but sometimes we can open our mouth, insert foot. And I think that's what Trump is saying about Iran right here. They've been chanting, and they've been laying roadside bombs. They've been doing all kinds of terrorism all over the planet. And finally, people got tired of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Correct.
But let's go back to the Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson. Mm-hmm. Do you have any of the recordings?
You know what? I'll pull it up. Go ahead.
This was a long time coming too, because this has been going on in our churches, in a lot of our churches, where Israel, I didn't see Trump so much extolling, listening to Israel like Ted Cruz did. Because if you notice Trump's words, when he talked about God, mm-hmm. how did he preface it? He said, "God bless the Middle East." Mm-hmm. Then he said, "God bless Israel," and then "God bless America." But his first words were, "God bless the Middle East." Mm-hmm. And in there is Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Qatar, Iran, Iraq, all of the nations that make up Libya, Egypt. And so that was unique in Trump. He threw an olive branch out there. He prefaced it by asking for God blessing the Middle East. Mm-hmm.
Correct. So I have the short clip of Ted Tucker and Ted Cruz.
You're the one who seems a little uncomfortable when I'm asking.
No, not uncomfortable at all.
I'm just asking what APAC does. My understanding, having known a lot of people
I
who work
can tell
at
you,
APAC,
I
is
deal
that
with
it
them all the time.
lobbies on behalf of the Israeli government.
Wrong.
Oh, okay.
Definitely
When was
wrong.
the last time APAC took a position that deviated from Prime Minister Netanyahu?
All the time.
Name
And
one.
let me go back and give a little history. If you want to do a deep dive on APAC,
I don't. I want to do a shallow dive that gets.
No, I'm not gonna do a
I
simple-
want to get to the core question. APAC is lobbying for a foreign government, and I don't. It's not.
No.
It's lobbying for the United States.
It is lobbying for a strong U.S.-Israeli relationship.
So it's not has nothing to do with the foreign government.
It wants America and Israel to be closely allied.
Okay, but it's lobbying on behalf of the interests of another country.
So that's not true at all.
How much contact do you think APAC leaders have with the government of Israel?
No idea.
You're the one who seems a little.
So that was just one. There's a couple other ones. The thing, I'm not picking a side, Jesse, with either one of them. I think it's very obvious that Ted Cruz is not, as a senator, giving out more information than maybe he's allowed to have. But Tucker Carlson has the voice of a lot of people that are the one, they're sick and tired of war. They want to know, why do we keep going into war after war and then using the exact same excuses? Like, I'll give you an example. Death to America, death to America. You're right. But Saddam Hussein was saying that, others. And so people are making legit arguments. I'm not picking a side. What I'm saying is all of these things have to be asked. And one of the things that Tucker Carlson is asking is, why is it that when we ask questions about Israel, we're the baddies? Like, why can't I ask questions? And that's, I think, one of the frustrations people have about this war is like, we're not allowed to ask questions. Why are we understand that Iran wants to kill the big Satan America, but why are we involved? Because before Donald Trump gave that announcement, Netanyahu was there. And I don't know, I think when Netanyahu spoke before Donald Trump, it just left a lot of bad taste in people's mouths.
But look, this is a big dynamic difference between the Soviet Union, China, and the United States. We've always had two sides go to war. And maybe we had a détente or mutually assured destruction. But here, you cannot compare the Iranian situation. And I understand what you're saying about Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz. But let me just throw out the America-Iranian situation.
Okay.
They're calling us devil. And we have experience of being Jehovah's Witnesses. All the Jehovah's Witnesses call us Satan. Our brother Joe, who's dead, he called us Satan. To his grave, he called us Satan. So a lot of us apostate Jehovah's Witnesses, we have experience with being called Satan. We know how hurtful and damaging it can be, spiritually, physically, and mentally. Now, and nation states, remember Benito Juarez, us being us Mexicans, he said, like men and nations.
Amongst nation, amongst men. The respect for
individual rights is peace. Now, Iran never respected us as a nation state. They called us Great Satan every day. Now, Iran could say the same thing about us. We're always meddling in their money, their oil, and so forth. Fine. On guard. It's on. But here's the thing. And we'll talk about Tucker Carlson. But this is the one strategic point that I wanted to make. The difference between what we experienced in the Cold War and what we're experiencing now is that with the Soviet Union and to a lesser extent China, they understand mutually assured destruction. They understand that this is end game. This is end. And so they don't want to commit suicide. They understand that if they bombed the United States, they were going to be destroyed too. Where I don't think the mullah or the ayatollahs care. I'm not saying the Iranian people or the people in Iran do, but the leadership definitely does not care. It's almost a suicidal. To them, maybe suicide is the end game, which is uniquely different than all the previous Cold War situations we had. The Soviets and the Russians did not want to commit suicide. The Ukrainians do not want to commit suicide. The French, the British, the American, the Germans don't want to commit suicide. They want the other side to fall, but they don't want to fall. Where Iran is this is a uniquely different situation. This is why you can't judge Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, George W. Bush, George H.W. Ronald Reagan, because they were dealing with a nation that really didn't care about mutually assured destruction. It was different. It's unique. And so the current administration chose a different path. He says this has to end. These people cannot be allowed to have nuclear weapons because they're not your normal type of human beings like China, like the Soviet Union. It's a different foe. It's a different enemy. And those are the facts on the ground. Whether they're right or wrong, I'm like you. I don't know. This is gonna play out. But this is what we saw. This is what's a different game than the Soviet Union and China.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So, you know what? While we go on to the next video, let me just hit this here. Watch that. Iran has just been bombed. The world has officially changed. And JW.org has kept this going. Why is there so much hatred? Political violence. That religious, here's your religion that we used to belong to, where they fail us. Before we go to the next video of Tucker Carlson, did you want to say anything about this dumb article? Look how small this article is. Oh my, and Daniel 2:44. But go ahead.
Gilbert, never in the history of mankind has a religious organization,
Mm-hmm.
they're not a church,
Mm-hmm.
been so fundamentally insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
If Jehovah's the creator of the universe,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's listening to you, Watchtower.
Mm-hmm.
They're irrelevant. In the course of human events, they are irrelevant. Irrelevant. Our brothers and sisters in Jehovah's organization are irrelevant. I propose that Jehovah is more of a dating scene.
Mm-hmm.
Men and women, young men and women, are going there to pick up chicks. And history will show me right. If you go to social media, Jehovah is just a place to pick up chicks. It's not a religious, political organization. It's a dating scene.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. We got that out of the way. This is the next one I wanted to show you. Ted Tucker. Now, these are biased because this is from the Tucker Carlson channel. But let's go.
Policy different from Jimmy Carter's. Seriously.
Please. I don't even know what you're talking about. Jimmy Carter? So what century is this? I am the product of the last 25 years, watching carefully, being involved in the periphery, and I see an unending string of foreign policy disasters that have impoverished and hurt our country.
Unending string.
Unending string. They would include Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, and our inability to stop the Houthis, by the way, in Yemen, which exposes us as weak, and I grieve over that. So these are failures. You helped preside over some of them as a member of the Senate.
What failures, foreign policy failures, have I presided over?
Well, we were unable to beat Russia in the war that you supported against Russia.
How is your foreign policy different from Jimmy Carter's?
So, and Ted Cruz on that one didn't deny that it was the United States via NATO fighting a proxy war with Russia. And that's the whole thing. So we want to believe Ted Cruz. But what's happening is that Tucker Carlson is revealing that, hey, you're not being honest with us. And then you're telling us this about Iran, but you don't want to answer these very obvious questions that we all have questions over. And that, so this is where I go back where we learn about why this is so important. Real men have to fight and ask questions. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, they all want to go along to get along. Like, hey, remember like the Rodney King, can't we all just get along? No, we can't get along because you're asking for people to give up their lives in a war. And we're not being given the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Go ahead, Jesse.
You know, Ronald Reagan, and I can't remember the quote exactly, and you got to forgive me. It's a quote that I always talk about, but he goes, of course, inarguably, there are dangers in every course we choose. Mm-hmm. But the greater danger lies in appeasement, in doing nothing. And that was the center core of Reagan. Now, he was fought by everybody. And here's the thing. Tucker Carlson is correct. And Ted Cruz are correct. These are the two sides in the Republican Party and the conservative conservative-minded people. And that's the beauty of the Republican Party. We exchange ideas and fight. We fight. And Ronald Reagan says, undoubtedly there is a danger in every course we choose, but the greater choice lies in doing nothing. And Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump today, through his actions, lives out those words. As President of the United States, right or wrong, I don't know, time will tell. He felt that the greater danger lied in doing nothing, allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon. What a lot of Americans don't believe is that our government has always lied to us lately. And so we don't know is it true that Iran was just weeks away from having a nuclear weappen? Remember, Iran had weapons of mass destruction, and it was proven to be false.
But why is our government lying to us? Because can you tell the listening audience about John F. Kennedy and the Greek story about getting involved? So why? So the answer could be is the government is lying to us because we have allowed it to happen because of what you're going to say.
Well, John F. Kennedy had a teaching, a beautiful teaching, and one of the great things that I love about John F. Kennedy, he was a Democrat, and he cheated on his wife hard. I mean, he was a serial philanthropist, and
he was a sex addict. Yeah,
but man, I love that guy. I don't know why, and it's not because of that, but I love a guy who can get away with it, man. Yeah, this guy was getting away with it, huh? Banging on everybody and everything.
Well, he banged that one girl who's a virgin, and then she worked for him. And then she's going to get married, and then working in his office, and then he tells her, "Go ahead and get married, but I'm still going to be banging you." Because she worked for him, right? And she told that memoir right before she died. She wrote a book about it.
Right.
She held it, yeah, but everybody believed it was true.
That wasn't the reason I love John F. Kennedy so much. Is because he talked a lot about poetry, and he talked a lot about history, and Martin Luther King. He loved poetry, and I think that's what they had in common. Now, Jackie Kennedy hated Martin Luther King, but anyways, that's beside the point. But the neat thing about a teaching that John F. Kennedy had, he reminded us of great Athens.
Yeah,
and he says in ancient Athens, for a time, it was illegal. It was against the law not to get involved in the controversy of the day. Not to. You had to have an opinion on it, on right or wrong. And it goes back to the founding fathers. They thought that the only way the American experiment could succeed is if we had an informed electorate. You had an opinion on it. What we have in the United States today is we have a lot of people who don't want to know about politics. They don't want to know about the things of the day. And so it's easy to get those people. For example, look at all the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. They worship a thing. You know how Mike says that we worship this?
Yeah.
I will always under the opinion that a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, not all of them, but a lot, they worship this word called research. You touch research, it's like talking to a Catholic about the Virgin Mary. And they have research, like the Catholics love the Virgin Mary. A lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses love research. But look at where your research gets you. You could research jabby-yabbies all the day long, and then you line up for it. 80% of the population in the United States got it. So where's all the research? Now we're finding out everything negative about it. So sometimes instinct has to go side by side with research.
Correct.
And I think that's what's happening right now in the world. They're going, look, instinctively we think these people are weeks away from having a nuclear device. And it's something that the Western civilization cannot live with. And so our elected leaders chose to take it out. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I don't have the answer. I don't pretend to know what's right or wrong. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. But I know the facts on the ground. The leadership of the United States saw it, that we could not live with this danger.
Okay, that's perfect, because that leads me to this one, and I think I'll have an opinion on share screen. Check this out.
Foreign policy failures that I presided over.
Well, we were unable to beat Russia in the war that you supported against Russia. You've been spending the last 3 years telling us that Vladimir Putin is evil and we're going to beat him with other people's children, and 1 million of those kids are now dead. You've never apologized for that. That was a full failure.
By the way, look, the level of number of falsehoods you lay out just in one statement are rather.
You haven't
stunning.
supported the war against Russia?
Are rather stunning. So the war against Russia was caused, which I have explained in great detail, by Joe Biden's weakness.
But you supported the war.
If you want to talk, we can talk Russia and Ukraine. I'm happy to talk about it.
Do you think that's been a success?
No, it's been an absolute disaster.
Okay, but you supported it. Shouldn't you apologize?
No, you should apologize. I'm not going to engage in the demanding of apologizing. So
I'm like, that's my point. Is all these failures and no one ever says I'm sorry.
Matter, or do you just throw out like if you want to talk, we can talk. But,
I just want to serve American interests, and putting into China is not in our interest at all. And you helped do it, and you haven't apologized. And you should.
What failures?
Yeah, he hasn't apologized, and this is a very good point, because he talks about how in the Ukraine, and check this out. This is why this is different. In Ukraine, you have 3 years of fighting, 4 years of fighting in Ukraine. Americans are spearheading the war and money laundering operation that we all know about it in Ukraine. And we're all like Ted Cruz. Well, no, I'm not going to apologize. No, we didn't do anything. Oh, it's his fault. Everyone is pointing the finger at everybody. I'm not defending Donald Trump. I'm simply saying that what happened today, Donald Trump is saying, no, I take full ownership. I made the decision. I sent, it just broke right now on Gateway Pundit. Bombers were sent to Hawaii, and they were looking at Hawaii, and the planes started coming in from the different direction, and then they were taken out like a general, right? So Donald Trump, this is the difference. Donald Trump is saying, and Tucker Carlson, I think, has nailed it. For years, we don't know who's fighting the war. We don't know where the money's going. We don't know who's pulling the trigger. But today, we know who pulled the trigger. We know who ordered it. And we know who's going to order another one. And that's the difference between, and I'm not trying to defend Donald Trump, or I'm just pointing out, this is what Tucker Carlson successfully showed everybody. Whether you agree with Trump or not, if we're at war, damn it, Ted Cruz, just tell us we're at war.
Great point. Can I just add to that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Tucker Carlson is demanding accountability for making war with Russia. Now, on the Jehovah's Witness side, Jehovah's Witness apostate side, nobody, no Jehovah's Witness other than you and I or you and I, have said that what is the first organization that, now Tucker Carlson is talking to Ted Cruz specifically. You warmongered with Vladimir Putin. But what you and I go even deeper. Who is the first person to go to war with Vladimir Putin? Wasn't it our religion?
Yeah, it was our religion.
The Jehovah's Witnesses were the first organization. Go back and do your history. Not NATO, not Ukraine. The first organization to do war with Russia were the Jehovah's Witnesses. Whether it was a spiritual battle, whether it was propaganda, where it was political infighting, but the first organization to do war with Russia were the Jehovah's Witnesses.
The first NGO, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what was the first religion to go to war with Adolf Hitler? The Jehovah's Witnesses. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a coincidence and a half. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the connection is, the nexus is with Iran. I'm pretty sure there's none. I haven't checked with Grok on AI, but I can't find any off the top of my head. Yeah.
But going back to the Ted Cruz thing, with Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson showed, hey, you don't apologize. So this is one of the hold on. No, this is one of the problems that we have with our elected leaders. So we're as Jehovah's Witnesses say, hey, here's the Australian Royal Commission. Here's the pedophile and here's the documents where you guys know he's a pedophile, the elder. And they just deny everything. So we have a problem here with Ted Cruz and other politicians that are just in total denial and not upfront with the people, being called out by Tucker Carlson. But it is refreshing that today we have a president saying, yes, I'm the one bombing them, and this is the reason why. Making it, and he's defining, and the last thing, he's defining victory. There is no definition of victory in Ukraine, but at least you could say that in Iran, Donald Trump has laid out the definition of victory. Go ahead.
Correct. But now a reason why we're going to be fighting amongst ourselves, and there's a division, and you said it's good for men to fight, have these differences, is the guy by the name of Cubic. He's in your comments section.
Yeah.
And I think he identifies the reason why a lot of us are fighting. He says right there, since 2000, right there, that is key. That is strategic. That is on point.
Mhm.
This is true. We've been listening to this year after year after year. Maybe, and I think not so much since 2010. I think Kubrick is wrong in that it's probably happened before
I think the
2010.
90s, yeah, something. There's video of it, yeah. Mhm.
But that
Like
is the
40
key
years, yeah.
point. So a
Mhm.
lot of people are saying, why now? Why now? We've been saying this forever. Is it true that they were finally at 80% procurement of nuclear material? I don't know. But here's what we elect representatives amongst men to represent us. And so we have to believe that our government knew things that we didn't know, that they might have been in possession of something that we didn't know.
Okay. Now, that's a good point. So we're going to hide this comment. This is the other thing that really pisses off everyone. This is why this Tucker Carlson, this to me is when I said he posterized it. And this pisses me off being, a religious person, somebody who likes the Bible, somebody who likes to talk about politics and the Bible. Jesse, this pissed me the hell off. And thank God Tucker Carlson brought it out. Whether you agree or disagree, he brought it out. Here we go.
Growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed. And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of it, says the nation of Israel. So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my. You pull out the phone and use the Google.
It's in Genesis. So you're quoting a Bible phrase. You don't have context for it and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused. What does that even mean?
Tucker.
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel. But number two,
Hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel. And what
does that mean, Israel?
We're told those who bless Israel will be blessed.
But hold on, define Israel. This is important. Are you kidding? This is a majority Christian country.
Define Israel? Do you not know what Israel is? That would be the country you've asked like 49 questions about.
So that's what Genesis, that's what God is talking about.
The nation of Israel, yes.
And so is that the current borders, the current leadership? He's talking about the political entity called Israel?
He's talking about the nation of Israel. Yeah, nations exist, and he's discussing a nation. A nation was the people of Israel.
Is the nation
They're the descendants
God's
of
referring
Abraham.
to in Genesis, is that the same as the country run by Benjamin Netanyahu right now?
Yes. Growing up in Sunday school.
Man, Jesse, that, and here's the thing, because we criticize Iran for being religious fanatics, and all Tucker Carlson is saying, hey, you can have a religious belief, but you're over here criticizing these guys, and now you said the quiet part out loud, that as a United States senator, you are putting Israel first and not America first. I mean, these are legit concerns that people are making. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you follow American history, and especially George Washington and his dealings with Jewish people, and if you follow maybe Thomas Jefferson and his dealings with Islamic people, like the Barbary Pirates, the Battle Hymn, or the Song of the Marine Corps, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. So we had engagement with other religions, and especially Islam and Judaism in the United States. United States being a primarily Christian organization. But at the founding of our nation, we did not espouse the views in the majority form that Ted Cruz is talking about. It could have been in a small minority, but it definitely wasn't. We were a secular state. We were secular, not religious, not a single religion. But we were primarily Christians, but we didn't engage in what Ted Cruz is saying here, that Christian Americans had to obey the nation of Israel. I don't find that in the American experience. Here's another point. We don't even have to, as Americans, even have to obey the church in government, in secular government. For example, look at John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was questioned about this because of his views as a Catholic, a Roman Catholic. Was he going to hold the Vatican superior over the United States Constitution? And so John F. Kennedy was scrutinized hard. I believe if you go back, you'll find that Martin Luther King did not endorse John F. Kennedy. Him being a Southern Baptist, he endorsed Richard Nixon in the 1960 campaign, in the 1960 election. It was religious, and people were afraid of the religious views going into the secular. And so Ted Cruz is on the wrong side of that. It's a very small minority section of Christianity, but it's very vocal. Ted Cruz is right. In Sunday school, the church he went to, they probably preached that. He's right. But it wasn't the majority of Christian thought in the United States.
Correct. And my thing on this, in my opinion, it's very clear that Ted Cruz is pandering to a political movement, to a base. And Tucker Carlson, who's not elected, is just speaking freely, saying, I'm asking questions. And so political leaders are acting like Ted Cruz, where they're pandering to a base or they're trying to justify an answer. But when we heard the president speak today, he didn't use that language. He asked for God's blessing on everybody. And to quote, Donald Trump imitated the great Democrat, the great Democrat slogan, right, on the Resolute desk for Truman: the buck stops here. Donald Trump says, no, this has nothing to do with Israel, this or that. You called us the great Satan. You want to kill us. Boom, boom, boom. We bombed the shit out of you after I've given you X amount of time. The buck stops with me. And I think whether we love Donald Trump or hate him, we can't work with Ted Cruz. We can't work with these types of people like Mike Huckabee, who's over there as the ambassador, thinking that he's going to bring, that he's doing some kind of Christian Zionist, Christian Israel hug. No, we need somebody that we can just give a straight questions and get straight answers. And I think that's a frustration you're seeing with Tucker Carlson.
Well, I disagree with you.
Okay.
I disagree with you that we can work with Ted Cruz. Yes, we can.
Oh, yeah, we can. Yeah, we can.
And I think Tucker Carlson is showing it. Tucker Carlson is showing a lot of manhood. He's exuding what Elon Musk doesn't have. He could sit down, have an intellectual conversation with a person who has 180-degree difference point of view, and he can espouse his position, hold it, and hold the other side to account. This is what Lincoln did in the debates with Lincoln Douglas.
Correct.
The lives of millions of Americans was at stake, and the freedom. And these men stood up to that challenge. Lincoln was even assassinated. So he took his argument even until the death. And if you notice carefully, you and I don't even know the half. Our comment section doesn't even know. Donald Trump was shaken tonight. Donald Trump is probably the coolest man on the planet. Probably in our lifetime, and our parents' lifetime, and our children's lifetime, there will never be a cooler man than Donald Trump.
Right.
Tonight, he was visibly shaken. We don't know how close to the precipice we went as a people. And in many ways, we're blessed because the shit that was behind the scenes. Marco Rubio probably aged 20 years.
Right there.
I was going
to say the exact same thing. He's the only one, I think, by his facial expression. This may be wrong, but Marco Rubio, I think, is the only one by his facial expression that knew, like that looked like he had aged. Like nothing. This is, yeah. But Jesse,
these men went to the edge, Gilbert. These men went to the precipice, to the edge, and they're not telling the American public. The American public couldn't handle a debate. We couldn't handle a debate about anything.
No, I disagree. Donald Trump made it very clear that he made a decision and it ends with him. and he gave you a bit of the reason why he made that decision. And this is where John Marciano says that's the problem when he was talking about what you're saying. The problem is, Tucker Carlson is addressing it, the questions. He's doing it in a respectful way. And when he was disrespecting Senator Cruz, and Cruz called him out on it, he agreed. He goes, "Yeah, you're right. I'm being disrespectful. Or I'm being snarky." And Elon Musk didn't. But it goes to show you the beautiful thing about us Americans. We still love Elon Musk. We forgive him.
Yeah, but Elon Musk really doesn't belong in the debate right now.
I know. But we still love him, Jesse.
Yes, of course. I mean, this is one of the great capitalist minds of all time. This is a great American mind, a beautiful mind. But what I'm saying, in a position of power where people's lives are at stake, he's not a steady hand. Because look, Gilbert, Western civilization and the lives of your girlfriend, mine, my wife, my children, we're all at stake tonight. And we voted for a certain man to handle these situations. The weight of the world was on these men tonight. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, we don't know the full extent of what happened behind closed doors. We don't know. It's better for us to just sit back and talk about the things we do know, like the Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz fight. Yeah, we could dissect that. But what I'm saying, what I saw in the president, Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance, and Marco Rubio, these men were shaken to the core.
Okay, let's go back, Jesse, and let's just watch that one more time. I think we'll benefit by watching it one more time. Oops. Here we go.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise.
Can you pause?
Destruction of Iran's nuclear.
1 second. Look at Marco Rubio. Space. He's in pain.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be there.
He does.
Well,
these men are going through trial and tribulation. We should be praying for these men because the weight of our nation is upon these men. Go ahead.
Well, and also because if you make the wrong decision.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
The lives of like.
Or not even that. It could be the weight of the economy, the weight of everything.
Well, it's like Tucker Carlson was telling Ted Cruz. We're dealing with millions of young men that died in Ukraine.
Yes.
Why? Because bad decisions.
Correct.
And I hate to, not one human being should die. But Jesse, it's better. We all agree that just a small handful of people than hundreds of millions. Go ahead.
Capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, keep going, keep going, keep going. Because when he's walking, look at his legs.
Yeah, they didn't show it.
Yeah. This destroys a man's body, soul, because there's a lot of weight. The weight of the world is upon you.
Well, speaking, let's talk about that, the weight of the world. Two things happened also today. It looks like, speaking of weight of the world, Vladimir Putin wants nothing to do with this. He's basically, the word, according to the news reports, is that the news headline on the Gateway Pundit is that he washed his hand to Iran. Like, dude, you guys are on your own. And here's the other thing. Pakistan, check this out. This is very telling. Pakistan, which is his neighbor, and its capital is called Islamabad, and they're Muslims, right? You would think, Jesse, that Pakistan would be calling for retaliation, right? Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, the government of Pakistan wrote a letter in behalf of Donald Trump asking that he get the Nobel Peace Prize. So they put in an election vote for the Peace Prize. But I mean, think about that. After you don't think they knew what was happening? They were very well aware. So what does that mean? I don't know what it means. But what I'm just saying is that what we're seeing here is I'm going back to this thing, is somebody is being a decision maker.
And
good or bad,
another
buck stops here.
There's another dynamic in the Middle East too, is that the Muslim world is divided, religiously and ethnically, where the Persians aren't Arabic, the Iranians aren't Arabic, and there's a division between Shia and Sunni Muslim, and so Iran is a little bit an outrigger in the Islamic world. And they want to be the primary translators of Islamic theology. It's their way or the highway. Death to Israel, death to America. So they push the planet to the precipice. So now in the next couple of days, we're going to see how this all works out. None of us know. We're all armchair quarterbacks. We don't know how. I don't think our leaders even know exactly. But they have endgamed it. They have endgamed everything. Everything has been played out, war gamed. Yeah, but we don't know which way it's going to go.
Yeah, you're describing what everybody's been saying about the adults in the room, where you open up a can of whoop ass, you whip out the belt, and you tell everybody who's in charge, and you're right, and that changes everybody's behavior. And this is where I kind of disagree, because this happened. Do you know where you were on 9/11 at nighttime? I was at Applebee's. I purposely went to Applebee's on 16th Street on the Interstate 8 in Yuma, 16th Street. I would not go out for a while until we see if the Iranian cells in the United States attack the homeland. So when the night of September 11th, I remember saying, no, we're going to go to Applebee's. We're going to spend some money, and I'm not going to let other people keep me from living life. So I wouldn't go out for a protest. I wouldn't go out, there's places I wouldn't go, but this is Shaq, where I would disagree with you. Look, you can't let other people hold, all our lives. We have put our lives on hold because of our religion. Our life was always on hold. You can't let this happen anymore. No, go out, spend your money. Go out, buy groceries, or do whatever you want, whatever. Just go out.
But you do have to be vigilant.
But yes.
I remember that night too. I was you were at Applebee's. I was at Chevron, the gas station right in front of it, right next to it. And I remember a guy came in there, and he was a white guy, and he was pretty hysterical. And anybody who knows our hometown in Yuma, it's probably 60% Hispanic. Would you say Yuma is probably 60% Hispanic, Gilbert?
Yeah.
And he went into Chevron, and he started yelling, "Effing Mexicans," because we're not going to cuss in your show no more, right? We chased away a good, honest Christian the other day by saying the F-bomb. But anyways, this guy goes in there, starts cussing up a storm about us effing Mexicans. The Mexicans did not blow up the Twin Towers, And there was a cholo-looking guy in front of me. And he got in that grill of the white guy. And because it was a confrontation. And so I grabbed him and I told him in Spanish, cálmale. Today no es bueno ahora. And you know what the cholo did? When I told him that today's not a good day to even defend yourself, he just bowed his head. The cholo agreed with me. He backed down, and then the white guy left, angry, cussing everybody out. But he left. There was no fight. The cholo agreed with me. The Mexican gangs, he just bowed his head. He agreed that it wasn't a good time to start a fight. They had just taken a blow. The white guy had just taken a blow. He wasn't mentally right. Tomorrow, the Iranian sleeper cells might be that way. So you have to be vigilant. There's a lot of crazy people out there. And during the last years, we let a lot of crazy people into our country. People who hate America. We see it everywhere in the streets of LA. Everybody's always denigrating America. Well, here it is, boys. Here it is. Cuss out America. Call us the great Satan. And see what happens. There's consequences. That's how we started the show. Words have meanings. You can't go around saying America's the great Satan and think that something's not going to happen.
Well, I can answer this question. Tucker Cruz aside, what are the Gonzalez brothers' prediction? My prediction is real simple. If Donald Trump says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. So if you're a world leader, right, and he says XYZ, believe that he's going to do XYZ. And I think he proved it today. I think Donald Trump proved today that the buck stops here.
Hey, Gilbert, check out Cubic. He thinks like us.
Yeah, I asked GPT. Now, check this out.
Can we ask Cubic, what did ChatGPT tell him?
Yeah, that's what we're waiting for. Look at this one. This just came out, Gateway Pundit. American Christian leaders back Israel. Christians are imprisoned, tortured, and executed in Iran.
No. That was out this morning.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, listen. Okay, go back. There's a tale of two Christians. One is an American Christian, okay, in America. There's this guy in Los Angeles that came in from El Salvador, probably grew up in a Christian nation, Christian background. The protest starts, and he starts picking up bricks and throwing them at cars like an invader. He had a Christian background, but he chose not to use it. He chose not to use it.
Yeah.
He chose to use the devil instead, and he started throwing it. Now, the American ICE agents and the Border Patrol agents, they used their Christianity. They turned the other cheek. They could have shot it. If this man would have been in a non-Christian nation, if he would have did this in Iran, the Ayatollahs would have had him shot. If he did this in China, he would have been shot. If he did this in Russia or the Ukraine, he would have been shot. If he did this in the Ukraine, he would have been droned. But Gilbert, flip it. You go to Iran today, and guess what is the biggest Christian growing congregation? Everybody likes to say the Pew Research shows that Christianity is shrinking. No, it's not. Christianity is growing everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's just that Pew researchers, you Pew researchers are like pollsters. Nobody wants to talk to you guys.
And that's why, like, we did that video when we were making fun of Mike Brooks. There's people who in America who love seeing a closed church, a downfall of the American churches. They love seeing people hate on Jesus Christ and have shirts that say Jesus is fake, Santa Claus, and all that other stuff. All of you guys are pagan. So the reason I put that up is because America. So yeah, it's like a seesaw, right? As Americans are losing their faith in Jesus Christ, doesn't mean that the numbers are dropping. The numbers of Christians all over the Middle East are rising, and they've always been Christians in the Middle East.
Yeah, and you know what this thing about, and then they cite, it's like the Jehovah's Witness. You know, they have an article in the JW.org and goes, why is there so much anger? Why is there so much hate? And then they quote the New York Times and the United Nations. Maybe they're looking at the wrong place, and that's why there's so much hate. Mm-hmm. Same thing with these people who are quoting there's no Christians. Maybe because you're quoting the Pew Research Center. Maybe if you go out into the streets and talk to people, talk to them about Jesus Christ, you'll see that there's a lot of people who believe in Jesus Christ. They're just not going to share with a Pew researcher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, they're calling from work. I'm going to take a pause.
Yeah. And the other question is, ask yourself this, here you have a Christian president, Donald Trump. Thanks God. Vladimir Putin, Russian Orthodox. And then you have these people that are saying death to America and promising to bring in a nuclear apocalypse. Can you blame the news reports that are coming out where Russia is distancing themselves from Iran? I'm just saying, these did Iran put themselves in this situation? But one thing can be said, and what JP was asking, what do you predict? If Donald Trump says he's going to bomb you, he's going to bomb you. Like it or not, the buck stops with him. And that's what we're looking at. And that's what, I think that's why a lot of, and that's why he talks about peace through strength, that you know what you're dealing with. So if he said, hey, we're going to have peace, if we do this, then you can bank on it. That's what he's trying to say.
And here's the difference. Here's the difference between other times. This is the dynamic that people have to understand and have to embrace. That at other times, in diverse manners, there was different people at the helm. For example, during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Maybe before that, the deep state was running the hands of John F. Kennedy. Maybe. Maybe the deep state was running the hands of Ronald Reagan. Mm-hmm. Maybe the deep state was running the hands of George W. Bush or Bill Clinton or Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. They say that John F. Kennedy, he felt a sense that the deep state was trying to push his hand. Mm-hmm. That's why he had a special phone installed where he could talk to Nikita Khrushchev direct, so that they two could talk direct. I don't think that existed with the Iranian Ayatollahs. How do you communicate with somebody who says you're the great Satan? Mm-hmm. That's what we learned this in our religion. We could tell the political leaders, look, once Satan is dropped into the conversation, there is no communication. We learned that as Jehovah's Witnesses. If the earth was going to end tomorrow, the Jehovah's Witnesses look at us as satanic. They would never talk to us. Do you think the Ayatollahs would talk to Marco Rubio? Do you think the Ayatollahs would talk to Donald Trump? No, But for some reason, the communist leaders of China and the Soviet Union had communications with the American president. Thank you, John F. Kennedy. He put in line, so there was communication. We don't have that with Iran. They hate our guts. They want us destroyed. Everybody's talking about that they're sleeper cells. Why? Because they've been for 50 years saying we're satanic, 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 satanic. To them, we are satanic.
Mm-hmm. Do the Gonzalez brothers believe the U.S. is at war with Iran after the bombing? No shit. You bomb somebody, that's preemptive war strike. Of
What
course.
kind of question is that?
No, the second question. Should I go back to the meeting tomorrow? No.
Now, that is a good question. That is one of Shaq's best questions. Can he repeat it?
Okay. Should I go back to the meeting tomorrow?
That's a good question. Maybe, Shaq. And record it.
No, and this is the reason why. Because if you go back to the meeting, it's skin in the interest of skin, and everything a man has, he will give up to save his own life.
No, Gilbert, you weren't listening to me. No.
I know.
Jehovah's organization is a place to pick up chicks. Shaq can
That's
pick up
right.
a chick.
Oh, okay. Actually, he's picking up on a girl who used to be she just left the Watchtower, so.
He's picking up on an ex, Eldoret? Oh my gosh.
My Yup was agreeing with GG. Let's just see here. Baby, there is God. World War III is about to start. The governing body are right. No, and you could bank on this. If the governing body or Watchtower says anything, the exact opposite is true. The exact opposite. That's always a takeaway in any ex-Jehovah's Witness video. If Watchtower says it, the exact opposite is true. So no, it's not. I don't believe it's the start of World War III. I believe, after listening to what Donald Trump said, isn't there like the boy that cried wolf or story here? This Iran saying wolf, 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 wolf. They just keep crying.
Yeah, Gilbert, that's very
Finally,
interesting.
somebody comes down and says, "Okay, this has to come to an end." Because you can't have peace when men don't, fight. And also, the last video, remember I was showing you Ali and George Foreman fighting. What was the result? The end result. At the end, they were best friends till the day they died. Sometimes men have to fight. It has to happen.
Yes,
and the stupidity, this shit has to come to an end.
Oh, here's the thing about. Well, it'll never come to the end because as long as we're separated from God, we are in a state of decay.
Correct.
So we're always going to be decaying. The closer we get to God, the closer we get to stopping the decay. Mm-hmm. But going back on that, the thing about Donald Trump bombing Iran, a lot of in the comment section is talking about it, and Tucker Carlson talks about it. Everybody's talking about it. A lot of people want to quit and run on Donald Trump. They don't know how to stay the course. They think that they joined the Republican Party right now just for this election and they're going to go. Well, good riddance. You have to stay the course. Some of us were here since Lincoln got shot. Mm-hmm. We've been here since the Emancipation Proclamation. We've been here since Ulysses S. Grant. We've been here since Teddy Roosevelt. We've been here since Hoover started the Depression or not. We've been in the fight. This is where people go to argue things out of consequence. So they're saying that Trump got sucked into this war, but our intelligence agencies were warning that they were dangerously close to having a nuclear weapon. Are we going to have confidence in our elected leadership that maybe they're telling us the truth for a change? And Ronald Reagan says, surely there is a danger in every course we choose. But the greater danger lies in doing nothing. Let's say they had a bomb like they were saying that they were going to have a bomb. Is it worth it to take out one American metropolitan area? Mm-mm. No, we had to put a stop to it according to our elected leadership. This is why we voted for them. This is why we put them into place. So it really doesn't matter what we say. This is the course the United States chose, and it's better to stay the course. They know things that we don't know.
Now we have a woman who's schooling Julian Watson, and this is where I can't get into, because I'm glad Julian Watson says this, because, or just ask, because a lot of the Bible thumpers are going to come and say, thus says the Lord of hosts, behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the foremost of their might. No. This is just like what Tucker Carlson was saying in that video he showed, that you get some obscure scripture in the Bible, and now you justify a bombing of, biblical proportions. No. This is the problem what Tucker Carlson was saying. You can't just cherry pick these Bible texts. And I've noticed a lot of evil people do that. A lot of evil religious leaders always cherry pick all of these Bible texts, these verses in Revelation, and say, oh, the end's coming. Because I'll give you an example. They'll say, you heard this before, the river Euphrates is drying up. Okay, that was one of the many plagues. But what about all of the other ones? See, so you can't just cherry pick. And that's what we see a lot. People cherry pick the Bible to what? Justify going to war? No. So Julian, on that one, that was a good question, but I totally disagree. Now, if the Bible gave you a list of things, and you can just check them off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they were happening in that order, well then yeah, I would be a little scared. But on this particular one, no, because it's just we're going to decide whether we're going to kill millions of people in Iran and people in our side die because of one verse in Jeremiah 49. No, that's not a sane way to think. It's not a sane.
And one of the things we've learned in the American experiment in self-government is that we as Christians, we do have a Christian background, but we don't use scripture to decide secular war, peace.
Correct.
We actual situation on the ground. What did our fathers do? What did George Washington do during the Continental Congress? Did he go into scripture and try to dissect? No, he went back to his hotel room in July when it was 107 degrees, 80% humidity, and he's all dressed up in his judicial clothes, and he got on his knees and he prayed. And they prayed and they prayed and they debated and they prayed and they prayed. They prayed for the guidance. And we asked God for his wisdom. Yeah, we're not going to get a story from Jeremiah 49 to decide whether we're going to go to war with Iran. What is the situation? This is why we're a secular nation. We're Christian, yes, because we believe in Christ and God. But we're not going to go to Jeremiah 49, 34, 44 height.
And you know who said that to Tucker Carlson? The exact same words. He said, Bukele. He goes, yeah, we know we're a secular country. He goes, but we're also El Salvador. And we're also believers. He goes, we got on our knees. Because Bukele understood that MS-13 at that moment was more powerful than the government. But really they weren't. He just needed a little bit of help. And they all got on their knees and they prayed to God. But they weren't using these Bible verses to justify this or to justify that. No, they just knew they were believers, but they knew that they just needed wisdom from above. That's all.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we have to be careful when people use the Bible. And I think one of the persons said, like, the governing body does that a lot. He says that they always use these little Bible. Like, I'll give an example. Donald Trump starts bringing peace to Iran and Islamabad, Pakistan, and India. What's the first thing Watchtower is going to do? Oh, peace and security. They're going to start scaring. They're always using the Bible to scare people into believing that the end of the world is coming. So, so what do you think? So, did we miss anything or no?
No, I just wanted to go back into the belief of Jesus Christ. These are rough days and coming up. And I was thinking this morning, I was dreaming about the little drummer boy. And follow me on this. And the little drummer boy, he had a lament. What was the lament of the little drummer boy? Was it that he was a poor shepherd boy? No, he had a lament that he had nothing to lay before a king. I mean, think about this. This is a gentleman who probably slept where there's poo-poo in the field. Probably got paid no silver, no gold. And he sees baby Jesus being born. And his one lament in life is he goes, I have nothing to lay before a king. And then he says, I'll play my best for him. I'll play my best for him. And he was blessed. And then when the evildoer is knocking on Jesus, what was the lament of the other evildoer with Jesus? His lament was that his partner in crime was yelling at Jesus Christ. You see how everybody, even in their lowest state, elevated Jesus Christ. And then they were elevated themselves by Jesus Christ. And I think that's what we have to do. When we see our brothers knocking on Western civilization, on the things that got us here, our moms and dads, our marriages, our male body, the female body, what a woman is, all the things that got us to this dance, the American nation, the American experiment, Moses, the saints, the patriarchs in the Bible. When we see people knocking on them, now is this time to extol the virtues of Western civilization, of what got us here, of our fathers before us, of our bigger brothers before us. There's so many people quitting on America. I think the moral of the story is that there was a nation who for 50 years said death to America, and they got their ass kicked tonight.
And that answers this question. Did Gigi vote yay or nay to this bombing? No, nobody was voting for bombing, and not even Donald Trump. That's exactly what Jesse was saying, that after 50 years, you've been saying death to America and said, okay. So what we're noticing here, Julian, is that we have a president who's saying the buck stops here. Love him or hate him, at least you can work with somebody. Vladimir Putin can work with Donald Trump now because he knows I can work with you. You say you're gonna do this. Vladimir Putin said, okay, Ukraine's all mine. It's all ours. Okay, we're dealing with people now who are saying their yes is yes and their no is no. Now we can work. But does that, am I trying to pussyfoot? Am I trying to get in between? No. I'm just saying we're in a situation now where 3 years of fighting in Ukraine, everybody's money laundering. Nobody knows who's supplying the bombs. Is it France this week? Is it England this week? It's now we know who's in charge. We know who's dropping the bombs. We know who ordered it, and we know we're at war. And it's not. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying at least you can work with it now. And that's the problem that I think, and that was the whole thing of our Tucker Carlson thing. Now it's very obvious Donald Trump means business, and he didn't lie. This didn't come out of nowhere. He told you 60 days ago he was going to do this.
Now there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of men acting like females, and there's going to be a lot of female acting like men. There's going to be a lot of transgenderism going on here. There's going to be a lot of people wanting to jump ship, and there'll be brighter days ahead. This is a very dark situation that mankind's going into. But this is why the leaders before us always advocated for staying the course. And going back once again to Reagan's words, undoubtedly there is a risk in everything we do. But the greater risk lies in appeasement. And we've been appeasing these guys who have been calling America the great Satan. And they got their asses kicked one more time. So instead of second guessing the United States has been getting its ass kicked for 50 years. Why don't you try being on the cheerleading side once? Why don't you say, can't you see? Why can't we extol the virtues of the United States? Yes, we've been down. But I'm not going to join the chorus of people who say, look, whether we are right or wrong, I don't know. But I do know one thing. Our country right now is calling for unity because we are at war with Iran. And for the last 50 years, I checked on the news, they've been begging for a fight. They've been begging for it.
Well, you know how they say you can't handle the truth. I think that's what we learned here with the Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is saying, give it to me straight. Give it to me straight. If Donald Trump gave it to you straight, you can be a cheerleader for him. And that's all he's saying. Tucker Carlson, I'm going to defend Tucker Carlson. I'm on his side on this one. Just give it to us straight. Are we at war? Okay, we're at war. And the beautiful thing about admitting that you're at war is you can now call President Trump and say, okay, how long? And this is the type of thinking that Donald Trump has. You define the war, you define the surrender, and you define the outcome. You can work with people like that. You can't work with what we had 3-4 years ago with Ukraine. Nobody knows what the hell's happening. Just money laundering, bombs going off everywhere.
Now, there's another danger. There's another danger in that we are at war, but we're not at war. Technically, we're not at war, but technically we are. I know that sounds
weird.
I know that sounds wrong, but you're going to have your Rand Paul wings of the Republican Party coming out any second now. And they're going to say that only Congress has the power to levy war. And he's right. According to our Constitution, what Donald Trump did is he took a military strike as commander-in-chief. And he's exercising his right as commander-in-chief because he saw a danger of a nuclear threat. And that's the key point. Now, here's the problem. There was a nuclear threat. A lot of people don't believe that there was a nuclear threat. Why? Because our government has lied to us on so many other occasions. And so it's a big dilemma. It's a big dilemma.
So I'm saying here, let's just say that's Donald Trump and Rand Paul's on the bottom. Rand Paul's right too. So say, okay, Mr. President, we're going to declare war. I'm going to put in the war. That's the first thing Rand Paul should do is bring in articles of war and then tell the President of the United States, define the war, and let's finish this. Let's finish this ASAP. So, and that's what we're saying, because we can criticize all we want, but what good is criticizing? You have to bring it to an end. You have to bring it to its final conclusion. And that's what happens when men fight, when men argue. If you go the other way, like Jesse's talking about appeasement, that we saw that with 4 years of Biden in Ukraine, just endless death. At least right now with what Donald Trump's doing, men fighting and hashing it out, hopefully you could resolve this in weeks, not years.
Look, within a couple of hours, I would bet anybody here on the comment section, and I'm going to be the first one to predict it, there's going to be articles of impeachment by the Democrats. They're going to call, if there's not articles of impeachment by the Democrats, there will be calls for impeachment any minute now, sure as clockwork. And we can't join that chorus. Did the intelligence community know something we don't? If they did, then that's why we pay our elected representatives to act in behest of the United States. That's what we do as a republic. We voted for them to act for us, and that's what the president did tonight. Instead of getting your panties in a wad, maybe you should be on your knees praying for our country, because we need a lot of help. But don't join the choruses that are sure to come out like clockwork. You know that the a lot of the Democrats are dead, of old age. But the Maxine Waters and the Gavin Newsoms, I could see them start calling for impeachment. Holy shit! When did that come out? I said that at 8:23. What?
Published at 8:25, so 10:25 Eastern Standard Time.
So I said it 2 minutes before that print?
No, an hour.
I haven't read that, but yeah, they're sure as clockwork. The Democrats are going to call for impeachment. The first one is the brain dead. You know, the thing is, she's real pretty, and people will vote for that. You know, if Adolf Hitler was half as pretty as Gavin Newsom, half of the Democrats would vote for him. Like AOC, she's real pretty, but there's nothing in between the ears. We as an American republic, we voted for our leaders to act in behalf of the American public. If the intelligence community said that Iran had a nuclear weapon, that was something that we voted for a man who said he cannot let that happen. And I believe Barack Obama said the same thing. I believe Joe Biden said the same thing. I believe even Bill Clinton said the same thing, that nuclear Iran was just not acceptable.
Now, on a funny note, and we'll just give it a couple seconds, Ruby is angry. Now, that's funny. That is funny, John Marciano. Ruby's angry. That's hilarious.
I want to crack at that.
Okay,
it
go
really,
ahead.
it really doesn't matter. Ruby's a very intelligent person, but there's a dynamic in the Republican Party. There's a dynamic in the conservative movement in America. And if you go to a lot of Republican meetings, I go to a lot of Republican meetings and I sit down and listen, give it. And since I left the Jehovah, and I was always a closeted Republican since I voted for Nixon way back in '72, as a baby. Anyways, they have a newcomer mentality where they want victory now. And there's people who have been in the conservative movement. They were there when they crucified our Lord. Some of them were there when the Battle of Bunker Hill, or when our flag was being shot down. They say, "Hey, Jose, is our flag still there?" Some of people have tasted defeat and have seen their children die. And they've been in the long game, in the struggle for freedom and the American experience, or the American experience in self-government. They've been in the long game. And along comes a person who thinks history starts on the day they were born. They come into the debate and they don't get victory, or something doesn't go their way, and they go Elon Musk. And that's very common in Republican and conservative circles. If they don't get their quarterback ways, they're going to take their ball and go home. And
A lot
you
of
got to let
Democrats like that too. The transgenders are going to turn on the Democrats when the Democrats finally dump them. Yeah, and they don't get their way no more.
they go Elon Musk.
But they're dangerous. Yeah,
So you have to let them go. You have to let them go. They don't know how to play the long game. They want short victory now. Who are you? Who do you think you are? There's people who have been fighting for freedom. Remember that Tom Petty song, "You Don't Have to Live Like a Refugee"? Baby, it don't really matter to me. Everybody's had to fight to be free. This has been a long game. Since we left God, we have fallen into decay. And it isn't until we reach perfection, until we return to God. We don't start to live until we die.
Correct. Now, I wanted to bring this up because I didn't want kind of a different subject, but you sent this to me a while back, and this comes from Watchtower, jw.org. Instead of covering the real news that's happening in the world, they want to know, why is there so much hatred? What does the Bible say? So instead of writing a very profound article, this is all they wrote. How embarrassing. So did you want to talk, Jesse, about Watchtower wants to answer the question, why is there so much hatred? And do you want to talk about the two sources that they use?
Well, it came to us. You know what? I wish Watchtower was a Major League Baseball pitcher, because I could see their fastball. I could see the stitches on their fastball. We knew this was going to come up. So they come up with this stupid premise of why there's so much hate. And look at what these retards, these Jehovah retards do. They quote the New York Times and Dennis Francois, president of the United Nations General Assembly. Does it ever reach hey, governing body, Jehovah's Witnesses? Is there so much hate speech because you guys are quoting the New York Times and the United Nations?
All the
Mix in
time.
a little CNN in there, brother. Make a little ABC News, a little bit of Fox News, anything. What's that guy from OMG? Do you think if a Jehovah's Witness life depended on it, do you think they would quote from, what's that guy from OMG, James what?
I forget his name. Or from Christian News Daily. Go ahead.
Do you think they would quote Greg Gutfeld if their life depended on it? Jehovah's Witnesses are complete and total communists, irrelevant to the grand scheme of things now. They come up with a stupid question, and then they answer it stupid. Why is there so much hatred? Well, because you're reading the New York Times and the United Nations, idiot. The United Nations, everywhere they go, people run for their lives. That's why I said these people we're wasting our time talking about the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're completely and totally irrelevant as something of consequence in the planet that we know today. Jehovah's organization is irrelevant.
Well, that was the reason I brought that up, because I wanted to say that if any of you are thinking about this Iran war or anything else has a little bit to do with in the back of your brain with Watchtower, dump it. It's like what's her name was saying, how she hated the peace and she goes, I hate that stupid peace and security crap. Yeah. So just all of that stuff that reminds you of JW, you have it, like Jesse says, they're a bunch of morons. And yeah. But anyways,
hey Gilbert, it was a little slow on the comment section.
yeah.
I mean, Shaq was coming on hard and good stuff. And that comment about him going back to Watchtower, I mean, if he didn't troll us, that was the troll of the night.
Yeah, 587 didn't show up, so see what happened.
Yeah, you look at John Marciano. He nails it.
That's funny, man.
Where do you go from there?
That's funny. So I think the only advice that I would give you is buy gas tonight before they raise the price tomorrow. It won't be that much, but just fill up your tank. To actually not go out, I would say don't live like that. Be careful, but don't live like that.
And my advice would be, now more than ever, teach about American exceptionalism, American exception. Be proud of who we are as a people, as a nation. This is why we did things. Remember, undoubtedly, there is a danger in every course we choose, but the greater danger lies in appeasement. And that's what we saw tonight. We couldn't continue this way.
So that's what we learned. This has to happen. Sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down, or vice versa. But a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, we know because we lived it, Jesse, and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, they're afraid of confrontation. They hate fighting. They hate arguments. And we're saying, no, embrace it. Embrace it.
Well, there's two things we know. We called out the prediction that the Democrats are going to call for the impeachment of Donald Trump.
Boom.
We don't know how far they're going to take it. We know that maybe some Republicans might join them, some rhinos. And the third, we know that the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to see this as an end times prophecy. We know these three leeches are going to come into the fold. Backstabbing Benedict Judas Iscariots. The Democrats are going to call for an impeachment. Some rhinos might join them. And the Jehovah's Witnesses are going to start preaching that this is fulfillment of end time prophecy, scaring everybody.
And we also made it very clear that for 3.5 years, nobody complains. They shut up because of the Ukraine war. There's no direction. Nobody's in charge. Money is being laundered. We know that. We know all that. And zilch. And then comes a man who everybody loves or hates, polarizing. But at least you know that on the 61st day after he gave you a 60-day notice, he fulfilled his promise. At least we have somebody, love him or hate him, where we know that the buck stops with him. So at least we know what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, just listen to what he said. And, we finally have a government that's saying, this is what we're going to do. And, we're going to die trying.
Hey, Gilbert, and you know what, to end up the Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz thing, we should be happy that in the conservative side, the Republican side, that there's a guy like Tucker Carlson who can communicate with Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz did get posterized, yes. But let's give some prop to Ted Cruz. What other senator is taking that kind of abuse or those kind of questions? You think Senator Jose Padilla is going to sit down with Tucker Carlson?
No.
So Ted Cruz deserves some props too.
I'm not taking it away. I'm just saying that they're bringing it all out on the table, and this is what everybody wants. Is how they say you can't handle the truth? Yes, we can. We can handle the truth. And that's what everybody wants in America. Just be straight and honest with us. And Donald Trump was straight and honest with everybody. He said it. 60 days, 61st day, the bombs start dropping. So,
Yeah.
you know, and that's a great takeaway. But man, what a Saturday night, huh?
Yeah, it's scary because this is just the beginning of things. Yeah, the beginning.
I'm happy. I'm happy though. I'm not scared because it's the beginning of things, but he's outlining. Donald Trump is outlining everything, and now everybody knows where he stands. Russia knows where he stands. Islamabad is nominating him for the Nobel Peace Prize. At least they know where he stands, and that I think is a reason not to be afraid. I bet you next week headline on World War III or when, or is there any end to war? That's really good.
Yeah,
I think by tomorrow.
Yeah, JW.org.
I think Shaq's wrong on next week. Tomorrow or Monday.
I think they're ready for the headline right now. By the time we wake up tomorrow, they're going to change that to nuclear Armageddon or something. Watchtower lives for this. People die, Watchtower rejoices.
Your friend, the Jehovah's Witness elder, when there was a hurricane, remember? No. When the gas pipeline off of the coast of Texas was on fire.
Yeah, he looked at me, and I don't know why he yelled at me that, they're people who, when there's a world event, a catastrophic world event, they rejoice in their hearts. And that's why I say we got to be different. We have to be different. Now is the time where we have to back our elected leaders, because we're going to be going through some very perilous times. Yes. And if that is in prayer, or if that is shut your pie hole and quit mentioning, impeachment. I mean, right now, in the middle of the fight.
Yeah, I would support Rand Paul and saying, quit being a coward, Rand. Draw up, don't talk about only Congress can declare war. Draw up the war documents. Draw them up. Stop talking about it and tell Donald Trump we're gonna go to war. It's gonna make it official, and we're gonna define the end. And Donald Trump would probably agree with that.
I think most Republicans would back Senator Rand Paul if he did that, because
that's what I'm saying.
Like, correct.
Like, say, instead of complaining, just do something.
Yeah.
Because if you complaining is only going to prolong this. No, like you say. So when you back them, says, but let's be done with this and let's move on to the next chapter.
Yeah.
And I think Vladimir Putin, Islamabad, talked about it in that article. You have to just look it up in the news. Pakistan elects Donald Trump for Nobel Peace Prize. Yeah, they got to get over the hump.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is bet Jesse $20.
You know what? It doesn't go good when people bet me. Doesn't go good for you.
Is there anything else, Jesse?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
Gotta go see Lisa.
Okay. Should we go on? All right. So this is the moment where we do the Love Guru section. No, just kidding. No. Okay. So we're not going to stay up late. So like the 6 screens. But
Tucker Carlson posterizes. Wow. That was deep. He took Ted Cruz to task, huh?
Yeah.
I love it because this is the American experience. Did you notice that these two men were debating Christianity and American exceptionalism? Two Americans, conservative thoughts, and 2 Christians debating. A lot of our brothers have already left the fold. They've left America and they've left Christianity. A lot of people have quit on us a long time ago. I've said that about the Jehovah's Witnesses. They've quit on America a long time ago. But this is where we men come into the arena of ideas and we debate. And we saw 2 men debate. There's other people who have quit on Jesus. They've quit on America exceptionalism. And like Elon Musk, he's even quit on the debate.
Mhm.
Now
And
we
they get-
love. I
and they
think
get-
Elon Musk can return to the fold. Mhm.
Well, what happens after Tucker Carlson posterizes and does a slam dunk? Well, then Ted Cruz gets the ball, and now it's his turn. The game continues. Well, you're describing with Elon Musk, and it happens with a lot of people here. A lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, they get the ball. I want to go home now, and then they run away. We're saying,
Mhm.
don't be that person. Don't be that person.
And remember, I told you about the greatness of Watchtower and the greatness of
Mhm.
Mikey Brooks. They bring to questions things that make you stronger
Mhm.
and make your faith in Christianity stronger. For example, Tucker Carlson actually sharpened Ted Cruz
I think so.
because Ted Cruz's arguments were weak and shallow
Mhm.
and were not well thought out. And just an intellectual conversation between Tucker telling him, hey, you're bringing up these doctrinal and you don't even know the scripture you're citing.
And lives
So
are in
Ted's going to
balance.
have to go back to the drawing board.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
He's going to have to do his research. Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I hope the show was entertaining.
Hey, Gilbert, what did you think about my tale of two Christians? About that Christian puke over there in LA and the Christian over there in Iran.
Mhm.
Those are two Christians.
Yeah.
One's throwing rocks at America and the other one's trying to get into a Christian church. Mhm.
Do you think this is? I don't know. Tucker reminds me of the guy who was grilling Jeffrey Jackson in the Australian Royal Commission.
I don't see that.
No,
I see a man with a lot of courage and conviction. He's going up against a Republican senator, a powerhouse, a jurist,
Mhm.
who's probably close to being represented in the Supreme Court of the United States.
Mhm.
A lot of people put his name up there. And he's being questioned by a man, Tucker Carlson. No, Tucker Carlson is a stud, a flat out stud. He said things that in a bar you could kick your ass.
Well, actually, in my opinion, Tucker Carlson was saying things that the average American, like you said, in the bar, feel, but he laid it out to a senator, and it goes to show that Ted Cruz is a little out of touch with America.
With
Maybe
main, yeah.
with mainstream. Maybe he needs to go to the bars. Maybe he needs to go to Texas and
No, his
And
thought is probably 20 to 30% of the Christian fundamentalists in the United States.
Yeah, that's
A lot of people believe that whatever Israel says, and Israel is key to the Christians' salvation.
Mhm.
A lot of Christians believe that, and Ted Cruz is part of that wing. And Tucker Carlson is dumbfounded. He goes, I'm a Christian, and I wasn't brought up that.
Yeah,
That's
but
not part of my dogma.
But Donald Trump put Huckabee as the ambassador to Israel, and he preaches that shit, and so does Glenn Beck. There's a lot of powerful people who have Donald Trump's ear that preach that. So God bless Tucker Carlson for exposing that, because now everybody can have that debate.
Well, see, I hate the word exposing. Sounds like a pussy.
Oh yeah, I know it is. Yeah, but but brought it to light.
Mhm.
And it's a discussion we should have.
Yeah.
And it's not going to end overnight, and it's no reason to take your ball and run home. I don't want to ever talk. Remember, like people in the comment section, I don't ever want to talk to you ever again. I'm going to unsubscribe from you. Like, hey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What the hell? Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell's
Yeah,
that?
because you didn't know what the word nation state meant.
Yeah,
And she wants to talk
I
politics.
don't unsubscribe from you. Like, whatever.
I think at the end, all I
Don't
heard
be
was
like that.
Constantine.
Yeah, don't be like that. Don't be like that.
Yeah.
Get in a fight, enjoy the fight, and at the end of the day, what is Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz at the end of the day? What do the coaches make you do? They make you shake each other's hand. Everybody gets in line. Good game, good game, good game, good game.
Oh, hey, Gilbert, I forgot. Is Shaq still in the house?
Yeah, he's right here.
Remember that question I posed? That intellectual question? You know how Rick Fearon always has these questions? Now it's time for the test. The GG for GB. What's the difference between Mike Brooks and the LA protesters?
What's the difference between Mike Brooks and the hotel?
And the LA protesters?
I don't know, Jesse. What is the...
Mike doesn't use matches.
Mike doesn't use matches.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jesse, just real quick. You know that Gary Kunkel, King of Dots, calls into the 6 screens, right?
Right.
And have you ever heard him when he does like poems, like reading a poem?
No. Did he do a good one?
No, he does terrible ones. So check this out. Stay Alive. This is one I sent to Rick Farron, but he didn't read it. Stay Alive in 2025 for the XJW convention in Tewksbury, August 2025. They said the end would surely come back in 75, but here we are with beating hearts, still standing, still alive. From door to door we once would roam, with books in hand so sure. Now voices rise in freedom's song, with truth that will endure. No more the chains of watchtower fear, no paradise delay, just friends who've walked the narrow path and chose to leave the gray. Tewksbury calls the bold and brave to speak, to laugh, to cry, to tell the tales that once kept locked and finally ask, why? From tales of shining silent pain to joy reclaimed once more, the stories shared beneath these lights will echo, shake the floor. Stay alive, a wink, a jab at prophecy gone bust. But underneath the satire lies a call to heal, to trust. So lift a glass or share a tear as past and present blend. For every cult survivor here, this weekend is a friend. So that's what I gave to Rick Farron in his show, but I don't know. I didn't. Maybe he didn't get it, but that's a lot better than what King of Dots does, huh?
I don't know.
Yeah, King of Dots does some crazy poems. But can I tell you why it's such a good poem? Because I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and I was getting a poem for her, ChatGPT. But before that, I got a poem for. I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT knew everything about the convention. It knew what hotel. It was scary. And I talked to ChatGPT, kept asking it more questions, and then I says, "Can you help me with the poem?" And he's like, "Yeah." And yeah. So, but we said, yeah. So that was a pretty cool poem, huh?
Hey, I wrote one.
Uh-huh.
Roses are red, violets are blue.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson proved Ted Cruz is a Jew. Oh my gosh.
Ooh, I like that.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Hey, but here, you know what, Gilbert? There's another dynamic about it, about the Israeli. Man, that was a crazy poem, huh? I didn't mean it. A lot of Americans tune out not because of anything other than this is so toxic. This debate with Iran is of monumental consequence. And so I think a lot of Americans, not out of ignorance or not out of any other thing other than they're so tired of this. These people have been fighting for thousands of years. And so naturally, a lot of Americans tune out. You can't blame them. We can't blame them. They're tired of the Israeli-Iran back and forth. And we got our own damn borders to worry about over here. Los Angeles is on fire. We got everybody hating on America over here in the home front. And I think that's why a lot of people tune out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, man. Jesse, your wife is calling you. So
All right.
Talk
to you later.
All right, guys. And we didn't have a poll. We should have had a poll question, but on the next one. And I think that's all we have, guys. So we'll see you next week, I think. We'll come on whenever we want. Yeah.